Hold your mic straight. Before you challenge me. Hold your mic straight. Before you challenge me. Hold your mic straight. Before you challenge me. Hold your mic straight. Before you challenge me.
It's dope. It's between that one and the UAD one that I use a lot. I use the Slate a little bit more because it's...
All right, fam. This is Bryant B. Nice Randolph. We are here with I have to say an Orlando legend. Real quick, I just want to share my story, and then we're going to get into the interview, of course. But I met John probably the latter part of '88 going into '89. So we have a history. And he has always been a lover of hip-hop, lover of the culture. And I can say, honestly, every year, every 2 or 3 years we're together, I have seen you just push the envelope. You know, you taught yourself how to DJ, you taught yourself how to produce. You were always in the know, always trying to, do whatever that next thing was. And from, the history, and we'll talk about that quickly in the interview, but a lot of people don't know how instrumental he is in hip hop, especially here in Central Florida. He's a transplant. He came here from Michigan to New York and then to here. But the incredible impact, I would say, that he has done here in Orlando is just phenomenal. I mean, from your college days with Israel to stuff you've done with Ozone to when we had a studio downtown. Just so much rich history as hip hop was bubbling here in Orlando, even with, the Magic Mike stuff and the bass music. It was still an underground New York culture of hip hop, backpack hip hop, lyrical hip hop. And John, I have to say, was at the forefront. J-Mob was at the forefront of that. And I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. So I'm not telling you something I heard. I'm telling you something I know. And again, when we get into this interview, we'll talk about, the work you've done with Bahamadia, the work you did with, name some people, the guy from Wu-Tang, Capadonna, Kool Keith. I mean, the list goes on. MF Doom. A lot of people don't know he's done that. He's done work with them, actually recorded music that's out there circulating on the net. So we're going to get into all that, but I want to introduce you to the real J-Mob. Those who don't know him, we're going to talk with him real soon. And when you come back, we'll make sure that we get into this man here, the myth, the legend, J-Mob, Central Florida's own.
In the air with the jet planes. Watch how you'll ascend, move quick through the express lane. The ones who don't, they'll get caught in traffic. Miss every opportunity, your life's trash, kid. So think about it next time you think dolo. Input from others will surely help you grow, bro. Take it from Craig G and J-Mob Connections to only take you to the place that you've been destined. Craig G. Let me show you what happens when we pool our resources, my G. Dimming the next man's light won't make yours bright. Insecurity hating will make you lack foresight. You should do for self without being selfish. A fine line of walk that equals straight melt shit. Coming together achieves common goals. Life waits for no man, so it's time to roll. There's no iron team, just fighting for the spotlight. Takes a group effort to win to reach the top, right? Got flight in the air.
As far as the tape machine and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, some of the settings that you like to use.
All right, we're back. And I, again, just was explaining so much that I love and know about this man, but I really want you to get into who he is, and he's going to let you in on all that. There is so much we could talk about. This interview could actually go on for hours because of the history that we have, but I really want you to get into some of the things, I guess, that really got you into hip-hop. If you could kind of keep the answer short, because I know you and I love talking about this. It'll be forever and ever and ever. but I really want people to understand who you are, what things brought you into hip hop, and why are you so driven now to make your imprint, if you will, here in the Orlando area.
Well, this is DJ J Mob, and I love hip hop to death. I am a connoisseur of hip hop, and I think hip hop has saved my life for 50 years. So one of the things that I like to do is spread the love for hip hop. I want to show other cultures that hip hop is still the way to go, is the biggest thing that we have here in the world as far as music is concerned. It creates a smooth, I would say, ride as far as going from A to B. One of the things I love about hip hop is that it's the unity. It's bringing cultures together. It's graffiti, rapping, DJing, dancing, video, everything. It's the culture. It's just the whole thing of bringing other cultures together. That's one of the biggest things I love about hip hop.
So yeah, from a cultural perspective, that's really what it I guess brought you family. It brought you the camaraderie. I remember those early days of us, going to shows and meeting other DJs, meeting other crews, production crews, people who were just, like you said, into the art, the elements, the graffiti, the dancing. Even now, you still dance sometimes, which cracks me up. He's such a big dude, and he's breakdancing. But anyway, it's just amazing how this culture has meant so much to so many. But to see how we've evolved with it, and being in this is at 50 years, that's incredible. I mean, who would have thought that early, we were looking at that book earlier out in the other studio, where there is just so much history that we forget about, but we're always connected in some way. Before all this stuff really got to where it is now, where hip-hop is a juggernaut, where everyone can make money, everybody can have their place in this music and eat off of it. I think that's a great thing. But let's talk about the earlier years, and how hard was it for you to connect and get connected with other people who were doing what we wanted to do. I'm gonna say we, because at the same time he was doing his thing, I was also a hip-hop DJ. I was also trying to get into journalism, doing things, worked at BET, knew people at the Source. There were just so many things I wanted to do. We were both trying to get in. So let's talk about that, the early years, and what kind of drew you to producing as opposed to rapping, or what drew you to the area that you focused on the most.
Well, I think as far as the earlier years is I started DJing, and I figured, okay, well, I want to do this hip hop stuff, so I'm gonna need some beats, I'm gonna need some production. So I would go to certain producers, and then, yo, Jay, it's gonna cost you $1,000, $2,000, and I was like, I can't afford these prices. So my homeboy was like saying, yo, you DJ, right? Many times you said, you DJ, you got those breaks. Why don't you go get a drum machine? So I started with an SP12 with the 5 seconds and start learning how to produce. So back in the days, you and I used to do those productions, and then we started doing those simple 5-second beats, kind of like what KRS-One and them did, on SP12. So at that point, I started to learn how to produce, and we started doing our own beats. Then I didn't have to pay those cats to get that money, whatever. So then I started becoming more production because I had records. I said, I can still do this. I love Extra P, Large Professor, Diamond D, DITC, Premier, Pete Rock, all those guys, Paul C. So I started to learn their production, Bomb Squad. I said, these guys can do this, I can do it myself. So I started doing more beats, and then as the years went along, I got an SP1200. So I went from 5 seconds to 10 seconds, and I was able to do a little bit more with that. So at that point, I was like, you know what? I don't need to pay these other producers. I'm a producer, so I can do it myself. And then, myself, you and Chris started rapping, and then I started working with Iz, and then, beats from that point on. But that was the hard part of doing it. But I'm still trying to connect that, that love of beats, what I'm doing now, to now. But at that point was I can't get with those guys because I have to pay them. We do our own stuff, so our stuff's always on the ground. So the earlier days was a big struggle right now. But now it's a little bit more easier because now I'm doing it myself now. I'm doing everything, pushing everything to the fullest. So that's kind of how I came up.
Yep, and I would agree. In the beginning, it was very hard because trying to make those connections without the internet, trying to make those connections without, really knowing who to reach out to. We would just blind reach out to radio stations and blindly reach out to record execs, not really knowing the ins and outs of it. Being that I was in college, there was a lot of new music, and they considered hip-hop new music, that I was receiving. So we were able to share that, understand that we come from an era of reading the back of records, seeing who produced what, where it was recorded at, what samples they used, all of that before the internet. So we got our hands dirty, if you will. We were really digging in the crates getting, the dustiest of the dustiest. That's one of John's phrases. He loves to say getting dusty, because that's what we would do. Really get into it and figure out ways that we could loop certain things, violin, snares, whatever it was. We were there creating that stuff. And I think that's what makes us such a collective group, if you will, of individuals who are really into the culture, because we grew with it. A lot of people come into hip hop. We actually grew with hip hop. So it makes it a lot more unique. So with that being said, the experiences we've had, and I know I can't cover everything, what is so special about this album, this production, this project that you're putting out right now? What is so special about it? Other than if you listen to it, which I have, it emulates or it symbolizes to me each era of hip hop. Is that what you were trying to do?
I think with this album, this EP I have, I was mainly trying to emulate that where I came from, the 90s. So if you remember from 84 to 90, it was the WBLS, Kiss FM, All in All, Master Magic, Red Alert. I had that era of MCs. And then the 90s, you had other MCs that came along, as far as the Juice Crew, as far as BDP, and then he moving on, Cypress Hill, that's EPMB, that type of thing. So one of the things I wanted to do was I always wanted to hear a female track, like a Wu-Tang. So the sisters that I got was like that. So these sisters were like bars. I said I need to have bars. I wanted to have cuts and scratches the same old way, how you had the music. You had the cut and scratch for the hook, everything else. I got the Keith Murray. So I always liked Keith Murray from before, so he's kind of bugged out. And then other MCs that are here, like Mad Ills, SB, they kind of came on, Rec Ali, kind of create that 93, 94 type of flow, because that's where he's from. And then some of the stuff that Mad Ills has right now is kind of like free battle type rhymes, but he still can write. So, and he's done some of the grind time stuff. So I kind of want to have him on there because he's a staple of hip hop here in Orlando. So I kind of want to have people to see how he could flow and how he's doing his thing. And like I said, a lot of the sisters that I wanted on there, Rusty Jugs is on there. No, he's down with the Boot Camp Clip, and then we know we love Boot Camp Clip and whatnot. So from Brooklyn, so he's kind of like that next generation. After the beating Buckshot, those guys, these Evil D, he's like the second generation of that. You know what I'm saying? So and that crew kind of that point. So I think I reached out to him. He got that point there. So he brought me back to the '95, the backpack type of joints. You know what I'm saying? With the duck downs like that. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's kind of where I was going with it. A little bit of each era in a package of hip hop 50 years that saved me. I know and you, but it created something that I could do, that I could move on from. And I wanted people when they hear it, takes them back to where our golden era of hip hop was, from 84 to 94, and that's where all the different elements were coming out in New York at that time.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. That era, what we call the golden era, those 10 years, there was so much uniqueness in the music. Now a lot of stuff, not to sound like an old head, but all the stuff that came out during that era was like they were trying to top the next MC. Nobody really sounded the same. You had some sound-alikes, but you didn't really have anyone who sounded exactly the same. And I mean, I don't know if we could credit that to just the creativity of that time period, or the influence or the influx of the label getting more involved in the art form. That's one of the things I wanted to talk about with you. Ever since I've known you, every project that you've put it out independently. And what's the reason behind that?
I think one of the reasons behind it is creativity and control. One of the things that I found out is that when you go with major labels, they tell you what they want. So, and if you don't deliver, then they can put your stuff on hold, shelf, or not deal with you at all. So independently means that I can put what I want out. So this music I'm putting out, MCs are like, what's the topic? Topic is bars. Well, we're going to cut and scratch on this record. Do we have to have a certain sample? No, we don't. So we keep it underground. We keep it street. So I already know that's going to be played on underground radio stations. So one of the things I love about independent is because I control everything. I can put whatever I want out, and then whatever I want out, it's in the streets. And I don't have to have no A&R person over my head telling me, yo, Jay, you can't put this out because this don't sound like this guy. It don't sound like this person. It don't sound like top 10 radio. I'm not going for top 10 radio. I'm going for underground radio. So long as the cats are underground, if I can press up 200 records and sell them to people like us, then that's like a platinum record to me.
So yeah, you want to be a curator, if you will, of the art form, and you're big on paying homage. He's big on paying homage to the old school, to the cats who came before us, to many of those whose shoulders we're on, that we can now do the things we do, from video to making music, even movies. There's so much we can do now because of what, was laid. And I think the great thing right now about us being in this year of the 50th year of hip hop, you're starting to see that stuff. Some of the things we forgot about, some of the things we go back. I was talking to a group of friends of mine. We're all on a call group, and we were all talking about why Heavy D has been left out of the 50 years of hip hop, because Pete Rock brought that up. It's been in the hip hop news, if you will, all week long. And you forget about that. You forget about people like Heavy D. You forget about people who were actually instrumental in the move of the music, but they may have not been as gutter as you would like, or as backpackish as you would like, or, there are even people, I'm not hearing them talk about Quali's. I'm not hearing them talk about the Mos Defs. I'm not hearing them talk about, De La as much. These are people, it's almost like, right, it's almost like we need a 50-year anniversary platform for everybody who was involved. And I think this is what your record is doing. I also want to, we'll go into that. I'm leading into a question, as they say in broadcasting. Because of the 50th year of hip hop, why did you choose to go with the first single being Women? And I've noticed even over the years, you've always said one of your favorite MCs is Bahamadia. You've always said that. Most men or guys who listen to hip hop, we're going to choose, somebody else. Even though, there are females out there that we love, but you always wanted to do something for the sisters. And I just want to know what pushed you to do that. What was your reasoning behind that?
I think one of the reasons behind me doing a sisters track was the upliftment of black women. And in this day and age, we don't get that. It's always males on the track, women of color. But for me, it was just really sisters. But it's just women of color. But that's why I wanted to give them a platform, have a platform. Queen Latifah, Mystery Light, Shah Rock. I don't know if you remember, but there's a thing going around now. Who was the first rap group on Saturday Night Live? And you saw that. Fucking 4 + 1 More. You know what I'm saying? So stuff like that. Dibbles D, Roxanne Shante. These females were they paved the way to MCs. So, you got Juice Crew, but you got Shantae over here, it's ripping it, you know what I'm saying? So you got that level of respect. So one of the things I always told you before, I know that Lil Kim and Yo-Yo and I want to say Queen Latifah, and they've done their little, cruise, kind of like that type of thing. So they did that already. But, some of the newer MCs that are out, because I had to ask, where are the female MCs at? Well, Jay don't know, look at this person. So one MC came and said, yo, I need some female MCs, you know what I'm saying? I just don't know. I've been out of the game for a while. Check this person out. So I checked this person out. And then next thing you know, I got 20 online. And I didn't know where they were. So I'm following all of them. I'm loving all the music. And then the sisters that I have on the track, one of them is on Rap Out of Control, and she was killing it with 2 other sisters. But I wasn't able to get the other 2 sisters, even though I spoke to her. But Nejma Nefertiti is dope. She's dope. I needed 2 other MCs, okay, Keith Turner, and another female MC, Ada. They're dope. So there's, we got Shay Noir. So my thing is, here's my platform. If I'm gone tomorrow, what can they say? J-Mob did this platform and gave these MCs this level of respect to do it. So this shine, and I'm actually going to come back and do an EP with these sisters. So it's going to be like my beats with these sisters, cut and scratching. I want to do all female, but it's going to be however, whatever it is. But to answer your question, it just was love. I have love for the sisters, man. Sisters of color, black women, they just don't get enough shine in this industry.
That's good. That is deep. I mean, I'm seeing now there are so many, just on my way over here listening to Sirius Radio, there are so many new MCs that are out. I think part of that is because, the sexuality of music and the people that are controlling the music think that's what we need to hear. But it was so dope back in the day, especially our era. But for me, when you say 50 years of hip hop, you got to cover it all. We can't just start in 2000s and move up to here. We got to cover it all. there were so many women that were out there, paving the way. And that needs to be said. I think mainly because women were able to sing as well. So you had, the group that Angie Stone was in. Help me out. What was the group she was in? I can't remember that. Sequence. That's what it was. Sequence.
One of the first
Yeah.
gang records. Sequence.
Exactly. And so from that, many people didn't know Angie Stone was a rapper. They, all these things are coming up. Like you said, Shyrock. There were so many others that came before, but they were able to lay down. I saw on a TikTok the other day, and I can't remember the group right now, but there was two ladies who were singing, rapping in 74, 75. So hip hop has been around. It's been around. We may have called it something else. They may call it slick talking or, rapping or hip, whatever they called it. We were doing it. We were at the forefront, but more so, like you said, ladies were doing it. So I think it's awesome that you're bringing that out, because a lot of times ladies just don't get their shine. And there are so many dope MCs that are female out there, and I think it's good that you're doing that, because many people won't take that way with it. So my last question, Jay, where are you going from here? You said you're going to put out an EP, kind of like a female Wu-Tang type project. And I know you're doing some work, if I can say, is it okay to say he's doing some work with Craig G from the Juice Crew, speaking of 50 years of hip hop. So there, and he mentioned Keith Murray. So what is in the future for J Mob? What are you going to be doing? What kind of projects are you going to be putting out? I know you said after you put out this one big project, you're going to be done. So let's talk about that. What's the big project? What are your future plans? And where do you see your music going? What kind of impact are you going to leave on hip hop?
Well, one of the things I'm doing after this first EP is I'm going to release some of the older songs that I had with the Koop Keith, and the Capadonna and the MF Doom. So that's one. This sister project song was so great that I spoke to the other. I actually have a second version of this. I don't know if you knew that. It's Water 1, Water A, and Water B. So I had 8 sisters. So I had to cut it up. But I couldn't have, I felt if the other sisters wouldn't get any shine, because if I give you a 8-minute song, are you going to listen to the whole thing? In today's day and age, they don't do that. You know what I'm saying? It's just all a short attention span. So I had those 3 sisters, and then I'm going to release what I call the B-side, which is some other sisters that are on there. So that way I can give both shine. But the second I do finish that, I'm going to come out with an EP, maybe 1 or 2 songs, but it's going to be, the same type of thing, over B's and sisters, that type of thing. I got a track with Shay Noir that I'm working on. She's dope. I've got enough music now to release about 4 EPs. So I'm probably going to combine one of those with the Wax. So I have enough material now, even with Jaquan and Prince Poe and, a lot of MCs that I'm putting together. Rock Ali, the list goes on. I got another joint that I'm going to be working on with Craig G and Master Ace. So I already spoke to that, and I was going to get Coochie Rap. I'm trying to get Coochie Rap. The money's a little wild, but I got some people that's going to work the prices with it. So I'm trying to. But if I get him down to a point, I'm gonna get that track, because I wanted to redo Symphony, but I know you can't because it's that time. So I want to do my own version of it. You know what I'm saying? My own version of it. So I know I'm getting right. So I know I got right. Right. So I know I got those 3. The Coochie Rap is in the air, but I already talked to Craig G. Speaking of Craig G, I'm personal friends with him now. So all this stuff I was thinking about back in the days, I wanted to contact these guys so I can call them and say, yo, what's going on? How you doing? Blah, 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 snap. And I'm talking to them all kinds of things. I'm talking to a guy inside about the Juice Crew, about Marlon Raw, my love for that. And he's giving me all these stories, and I'm just crying because this is what I wanted to do when I was younger. You know what I'm saying? We were younger. But to move on for your question, I have enough music now for 2 years. I've been building up music. So I'm just going to release these singles, EPs. After that, I think you came over to my crib studio and you heard this R&B track that I got with this wonderful songstress called Katie Burkus, excuse me. So she's out of Orlando. So now we created this. I went into the studio with a drum beat thinking I'm going to do this Wu-Tang joint. Then Roland Simmons, another guy named Rion Smith came together and we created this smooth track. So then another guy named Creative Angel rapped on it, which you haven't heard yet. So now it's almost like a song that I can pitch to Hulu, a song I can pitch to Netflix to be on a track, like a soundtrack. I'm bugging out because I never thought I could do that. I'm not a musician, but now I can do that. So now we're going to go back in the studio and do something else. So we're gonna come out with an EP. So there's gonna be something I can pitch to these TV companies, and like, oh man. So imagine me, a hip hop cat that's sampling records, chopping up stuff, hip hop, actually can have a song or on some love song or whatever else. So that's kind of where I'm going with this. The sky's the limit. You know what I'm saying?
Man, that's great, and to see the excitement and the you just understanding where you were and where you came from to now, it's incredible for me. I got goosebumps. I really do. You were talking really fast because you got excited. What is the young lady's name again who's singing? Katie Burkus. So watch out for her and the other music. Yep, Roland Simmons. And Rion Smith. I heard the track. It's incredible. So this is something new for you. It still has that hip hop, brand new heavies type of sound to it, but it is very melodic. It is, like you said, it's very catchy. I think it would do well on a soundtrack. It would do well just as a sound drop, if you will, for a commercial or anything like that. Really, really dope music, man. And I'm proud of you. I really am, because I know from which you came. And I watched the progression. I watched over the years how you've become the artist, how you become the producer that you are. The eclectic style that you have, I think, is something that is unique. I was just reminded of that. Actually, my wife was talking about how you sound, because she's all of a sudden gotten into Wu-Tang, which is crazy in itself. My wife is not a hip-hop person at all, but because of the movies, she was able to see the Wu-Tang saga, and now she's this Wu-Tang fan. And she said, man, the music sounded like John. The loops, the scratches on the record, not the DJ scratching, but the record being old, and that pop sound of how the record was so old and might have had dust on it, and that comes across in the recording. She's like, man, that sounded like John's early stuff. So he was a forerunner, if I could say, of doing that kind of music. And I think now the music that you're doing has come full circle to where now you got cats, actually, those brothers out of Buffalo. I can't think of their name right now. Say it again?
Griselda.
Yeah, Griselda. All those guys, that's their sound. Right. Their sound is what you were doing years ago. But it's amazing how music just comes back. So I just want to say that. But, man, this has been a great interview. Again, I'm here. Those who don't know, this is J-Mob. He has been in Orlando for years, putting it down, letting people know that we have a hip-hop culture here in Central Florida. He's been one of the mainstays, don't always get the credit he deserves, but he's been DJing. He supports hip-hop, incredibly. If you're having a show, he's going to come. If you're doing something production-wise, he's going to be there. And people know his face, but they may not know his name. So we're hoping that this interview kind of shines some light on that, so you get to know who he is, put the name with the face, and you're going to see more from him. He's doing great things, and as he said on tonight, he has music for 2 years or so, and you're going to get to hear some of that music very soon. So, Jay, I appreciate the interview, man. And we're just, again, looking for great things to happen for you. And RGN, I saw you put that, for those who don't know, he did an article. Article was really good. It's in the paper here. Yep, Orlando Weekly. Man, that's a good look. And I saw RGN on it. That's not what we called it. When we were coming up, but I like that. Real good networking. I like that. But that's not what we called it. It was just something between us. But man, that's what it really is, though. It's we had real ghetto, and I can't say the rest of it, but you know the rest. But yeah, definitely real good networking, because that's the culture. That's what it was. When people didn't know, we had flyers. When people didn't have flyers, we were out there telling it. So, man, it's amazing where we've come from. And, man, again, I'm happy. I'm ecstatic that you would choose me to do this interview. And I want to give a shout-out to Walkas Media, because none of this would be possible without Maine. He is. And he brings to light everything that's in your head, everything that you want out there. He's going to be here doing it, and I appreciate him as well. Yeah, this is hip-hop. This is what it's about. So, again, it's J-Mob speaking.